champ is here! The 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 champ is here!
Hey everybody, and welcome to the PR podcast. Give you guys a better insight on how to master your bodies and raising your PRs in and outside the gym. My name is Joseph. I'm here with my two amazing hosts, Anabel.
Hi.
And Morgan.
Hello, hello.
How we doing today, guys?
Great.
Great.
I'm already stumbling over our
day.
words.
It's okay.
we
had a long
we
day.
all had a long day.
You just
in
got
that
yourself
tea?
a brand new spanking Jeep.
Yeah.
Brand spanking new.
Brand
There you go.
Or
long day.
the other way, whatever.
Spank.
Right? What'd you get?
Yeah, it's just a Wrangler. You know, I always wanted one of them since I was a kid. It was like always like kind of like my dream car, you know? So 2020 truckle, granite, metallic, gray. It's a long color.
So great.
Gray. Gray. And it's shiny.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm happy about that. So for those of you guys who don't know, which is all you, this is actually our second time recording this cool episode. So we recorded this on Wednesday, I believe, of last week, and it was on National Cookie Day
Of this week.
this week.
Yes. This week.
So we recorded, and we recorded this on National Cookie Day, and Morgan brought like two different types of cookies, and he brought mead, which is like an alcoholic drink that he brought from Ireland, and we got pretty buzzed, and we're eating a bunch of cookies, and we had a sugar high, and we recorded the full episode. It was
And by we, Joseph.
what?
Okay.
It was just Joseph.
Okay. And you haven't had nothing today.
No, okay. Touche. I had 2 shots though.
You
Yeah.
were lit.
You were lit.
No, I wasn't.
You were so lit. You don't remember you were lit.
Wow.
Morgan and I remember. You don't.
I feel attacked. Sorry.
So it was a
continue.
fun episode, and so when we went to go edit the recording, that happened. Pretty much, it was just a disaster. So the file, ended up being corrupted, and so we had to re-record this episode. But it's all good. We're just not. But now we are completely sober.
There's no alcohol
there's
here
no
today.
alcohol.
We
There's
have cookies.
protein cookies.
We have healthier cookies though. These are healthy. It's not the same.
It isn't, but they're still good. I'll share the recipe.
We're all sad.
I've already shared the recipe, but I'll share the recipe again.
So Morgan, what happened to the mead though? Why can't we have another shot today?
So funny story. So I brought it Wednesday for you guys to try. And I left it in the back of the trunk so I left it there Wednesday night. And then Thursday night when I was coming home at night, I got this like smell. It was like so like fruity, smelled good. I was like, man, what's that smell? And as soon like right after I said that, it was like clicked in my head. I was like, shit. It was my bottle of mead. It broke in my trunk.
It broke?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought it, like the cork maybe just came up.
I thought
or
it just spilled.
or
Did you
leaked.
hit it with something?
Well, it spilled. It didn't break. Yeah,
man.
it didn't break.
Oh, you should have stuck with broke. That's way more dramatic.
No,
It shattered.
it went,
Yeah, I
Okay.
threw one of my 120-pound dumbbells in my trunk. And
I know.
it was
I just
splattered.
keep
It
it
was
whenever I need
crashed
a
all over,
pump.
all over my car. There was glass everywhere.
It was so heartbreaking. It was so good.
It's
Yeah, it
really
sucks
good.
because I brought it all the way from Ireland just to be wasted
That whole
in my trunk.
That whole episode was just like a disaster. It was like a haunted episode.
Yeah,
the
not only
file
was the
didn't-
audio corrupt, but the video kind of.
Oh yeah,
Was
so
that a
so
yeah, we messed
the
up
memory
the
card
video.
was corrupted, so the audio was no good. And then we also shoot video like we are now, and the screen is not flipped over. And we were out of focus because I
Yeah.
forgot to focus it. So the entire thing was blurred out.
Everything, every step of the way was just a disaster.
So it was just
It
a
all
bad day.
started with shots.
So we blame Morgan for it all.
Yeah.
It was a fun day, though. We hope you enjoyed National Cookie Day, and it
Yeah.
was much more rewarding.
As Morgan's still eating cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Annie brought cookies for us today, and they're a little more on the healthy side. Want to explain this recipe to us?
Oh yeah.
Oh, and
so
tell us tell people these macros of each cookie. Actually, you sent it. If I can stop
did.
dropping my phone. All right, so per cookie, It's only going to be 1.5 grams of fat, 7 grams of carbs. I'll round up and say 2 grams of fiber, and then 3.3 grams of protein.
Yeah, per cookie is 55 calories, which 3 cookies is about 165 calories.
Fire. Or like any
Which
other
is
cookie.
like the equivalent of one of those bomb snickerdoodle cookies.
Yeah.
But
And, well, these are good.
yeah, they're pretty good. So it's I'll post the recipe with all the ingredients, but it's basically they're moist-ish because of the pumpkin. There's pumpkin puree, there's whey protein powder, dark chocolate chips, coconut flour, oats, and pumpkin pie spice, vanilla. It's pretty simple recipe, pretty tasty, super quick.
Health.
Hashtag health.
Health with an F.
Health.
So today's episode is going to be about reverse dieting and bulking. So for those of you guys who don't know what reverse dieting is, is basically the slowly increasing calories after a very strict cut to recover hormones to get back to a healthy weight and a caloric maintenance, pretty much, or going into a caloric surplus, which is your bulk. I really like Eric Helms because he does not refer to this as a reverse diet. He calls it the recovery diet because basically what you're doing, like I said, you're recovering your hormones, you're getting your body back to a normal, healthy weight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, I didn't see the cue. I was like, I was just trying to make eye contact and focus on Morgan's OCD with its little Ziploc bag.
I'm sorry, guys.
They're really cool. So reverse diet, it's really applicable, especially for like stage competitors who are in a calorie deficit for a long period of time, but also for just people in general who go through phases of cutting or dieting, especially when it's a little bit more extreme. Like, so for example, when people have like long-term goals or body or appearance goals or weight goals, like for special events or like for the summer or spring break or what have you. So it's a way, when we restrict calories, your body goes through a couple different changes and adaptations because it's being in a calorie deficit is a stressor to the body. So reverse dieting or recovery dieting is basically coming back out of that slowly. So it lets your body adjust to the opposite direction. So where you're increasing calories, you're increasing macros, and hopefully this is under the assumption that you're still training really hard and you're training in a way to elicit adaptation. So you're still trying to build muscle or improve your performance. But that's basically the gist of it. So you're coming out of that nice and slowly after an aggressive cut or whatever.
Yeah. And for me personally, I have a lot of competitors ask me like what my reverse diet is like. And so I kind of want to go into kind of what I do post show in order to get my calories back to caloric maintenance. And so I don't damage my metabolism. And so I can get back into the gym and feel strong again quickly. And so if you look at my calories about a week before my show, that's what I base my the beginning of my reverse diet on is the week before peak week. And so the week before, I'm around 1,350 to 1,400 calories a day, which is extremely low. Obviously, I'm a competitor, so
that's the calorie range like I use to cut, or like if I'm trying to lean out for like an event. So, and you're like 100 pounds
I'm 6'3"
heavier than me, a little
and my
taller
normal
or
weight is like
whatever.
220 exactly. So for a guy my size, that's extremely low. But obviously, whenever we step on stage, especially for the Olympia, we have to go pretty extreme to drop the body fat off. And so I base my reverse dieting on the week before peak week's calories. And so when I go into my reverse diet, I do a pretty immediate jump in caloric intake. So I jump almost immediately to about 1,800 calories. And then I start to slowly, about every 5 to 7 days, raise my calories anywhere between 50 to 150 calories about every 5 to 7 days. And there's really no set numbers on what's right and what's wrong. It's really just about feeling out how you feel. You shouldn't be stuffing your face. You shouldn't be feeling heavy or sluggish or tired, especially in the gym. You should be feeling more energetic. You should feel stronger. You should feel like a superhuman because you just got done coming down from a super extreme caloric deficit. So when you start to bring these calories in, if you go over too much of a surplus, you feel really bad. You feel crappy. You feel sluggish. You feel tired. Your legs feel heavy, and you're in the gym and you're not feeling good. So that might be a sign that you're going way too high with the calories too soon, too consistently. So that's when you want to kind of wean back a little bit on those calories, and you should be feeling, like I said, good. Your stamina should be good. Your endurance should be good, and you should be able to lift a lot stronger. So I took about 5 days out from the gym before I set foot back in, and even my first day in, I just did nothing but body weight stuff. I didn't even lift a weight. I literally went in, I did push-ups, I did dips, I did pull-ups, I did some ab stuff, and I did some light cardio. And so when I go into my first diet as well, I do not completely cut out cardio. I totally understand competitors. We do a lot of freaking cardio. Bite my tongue on that one. This is expected. So I guess I don't have to hold back on my language. But we do a lot of cardio. And so a lot of competitors, when they're done competing, that's the first thing they cut out is cardio. And so one thing I do, kind of rule of thumb, is I don't cut it out. I just cut it in half. So I go from about 6 to 7 days of cardio to about 3 to 4 days of cardio per week. And I also lower the time. And so I usually do about 40 minutes. I cut that down to 20. So 20 minutes of cardio, 3 to 4 days a week for my reverse diet. And it's more for kind of like keep the blood flowing, keep the heart, and let the heart rate elevate, get that blood pumping through the body. So that's kind of like my rule of thumb. If you guys want to follow it, awesome. I do highly recommend it. And like I said, raise your calories up weekly, every 5 to 7 days, from about 50 to 150 calories. If you feel like that's still not enough and you're just a hard gainer, you have a faster metabolism, then you can kind of bump it up to the 200 calorie intake. But I feel like that might be a little bit too high for majority of people too soon.
Okay. So you said, real quick, you said you went from 1350 to 1800.
Yeah.
Right after competition.
Right after competition. So that's after about 2 to 3 days of kind of splurging, not really tracking, because obviously post show,
you still celebrate.
Yeah, you got to celebrate. So that's after about 2 or 3 days of kind of splurging. But even on the third day, I kind of didn't go too crazy because I was kind of burnt out already and full of sugar and goodies.
Okay, so I just want to follow up because we did say that. So that's for a competitor, someone that.
Yeah, I'm speaking strictly for competitors, not the average person.
So now for an average person that does a cut. So maybe you just got shredded and looking nice and
summertime.
And good for summer just passed and you were shredded, showing off the abs and
summertime,
the booty and all that stuff. So now it's time to add a little fluff. So you're trying to reverse diet.
Bear mode.
No, we don't want to go bear mode. That's the point of the reverse diet.
Well, that's what mine leads.
Yeah, these would be some tips. So the rate of progression for a reverse, another route you could take is, so there's a difference between, so like Eric Helms, he calls it a recovery diet for competitors, like you said, because he promotes a bigger jump after competition just to get your hormones back to normal, feeling normal again. Energy, sex drive, all that stuff. So for health reasons, that would be better. Now, if you're a general pop, you just got lean to get, like I said, for summer or something, whatever, a small little cut, and you're trying to reverse because you want to get into like a bulking phase or something. The way I would recommend is, like Joseph said, like a 50 to 100 calories per week. And the rate of progression would depend on how aggressive you want to be. If you're okay with a little bit more body fat, then maybe, like Joseph said, maybe just keep adding 50 to 100 each week. If you want to be more meticulous and just try to stay as lean as possible, what I would recommend is using tools like measuring your waist or the scale. And each week, like say you added 100 calories this week. Next week, weigh yourself. And if the weight is the same or your measurements are the same, then add a little bit more calories. Now, the next week, if you weigh yourself again and you're going up in weight, then maybe stay at the same calories. And then the next week, again, weigh yourself. If you're at the same weight, then add a little bit more calories. So just kind of smaller jumps if you're trying to stay lean, if you're not a competitor, because you don't want to gain so much weight. when you're going into your bulk.
Yeah, and that's great for someone who wants to stay a little bit lean and,
Yeah.
and not even go into a bulk, but kind of hit their maintenance. Like for me, since I'm going into a bulk, I shoot for about 1 to 2 pounds. So same thing though. So if I'm hitting 1 pound a week, then I go, okay, I could jump up more because I want to at least hit 2.
Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of my goal because I'm trying to go into a bulk after I hit my caloric maintenance and then just kind of keep progressing from there. And so you figure my caloric maintenance is about off season, I would say about 3,300 calories. That's kind of how much I burn daily. And so I probably won't hit those calories until almost like beginning of February. So it takes a while for me to kind of slowly raise up these numbers. And the same thing goes back to I'm tracking how I'm feeling and I'm tracking, the weight progress. And just like Morgan said, you don't want to jump up too high too fast because then you're just going to put on a lot of body fat, and you want the weight you put on to be quality. Quality is key. And so a lot of people, when they think of reverse dieting and they think of bulk, they right away think eat like an asshole. And for me personally, when I reverse diet and or bulk, I eat the same exact foods that I would eat when I'm cutting, just a higher volume. So I'm still eating healthy food. It's just more of it, bigger portion. But for that same reason, I feel so much better. My workouts are better. All my hormones are running a lot better, and everything's just so much easier. So
I wanted to talk about that when you mentioned it before, is about when you do increase your calories, you should be feeling like a superhuman.
Yeah.
Because the idea of this and this whole conversation is almost going into the assumption that you are in some way used to tracking your weight, tracking your calories, tracking your macronutrient intake, because you have to have that baseline knowledge. Like we're talking about going into calorie surpluses or deficits. So that means we have the understanding that you have to know what your maintenance is and what your maintenance range is, because it's not just a stagnant number. But same thing, if you're going into a cut, the majority of time, if you're doing it the optimal way, is you're using a lot of high quality foods and you're using a lot of and because your calories are dropping so low, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room for the fun stuff, like the fun food. So when you are reversing out of a deficit, you get more calorie points, more calorie allowance, then you can use the fun stuff. But you should take into consideration your body's still not used to processing all that fun stuff, quote unquote, so you should still be increasing the same amount of quality foods that you're using going into a cut that you are coming out. Granted, you should allow for a little bit more flexibility. That's the entire point of going into a bulk. You get to use higher nutrient and calorie dense foods, but you still are tapering out of that easily, not eating like an asshole.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Yeah, and since I do kind of stick to the foods that I eat whenever I'm on my cut, just like you said, my body digests it very, very well. So even though I'm at a higher calorie, I don't feel bloated. And I don't feel nasty, like I always got to use the restroom or that I have something in there it's not processing right. And so that's a big benefit. And it's like you said, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean I'm eating clean food 7 days a week. Since I do have more of that wiggle room, of course I do have, the pizza and burgers, but they're planned. So even on a bulk, I still have these planned cheat meals or cheat days, whatever you want to call them, or earned meals, if you want to use a different type of phrase for it. And
High fatty meals.
high fatty meals or high carby meals.
High fatty and carb meals.
All of that.
Yeah, so since they are still planned, I get to enjoy it more, and I still get to stay within my calorie range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also want to point out, on the reverse side, you still need to put as much attention to detail like you do when you're cutting. You don't want to, just like you said, splurge, because you will gain fat quickly. Then it's way easier to gain fat if you're not on top of it. Now, if you're one of those people that doesn't really care, you're like, I don't mind a little fluff on my body, then go all for it. Because again, like we said, libido, energy, sleep, performance in the gym, that's also key. So if you're one of those people and just likes to be a little bit more aggressive, then cool, go for it.
Yeah, especially for me, I would rather perform well than perform good than eat delicious good food all the time. Obviously clean food for me tastes delicious because I'm so used to it. I crave that kind of that clean food. But if I was to eat burgers and pizza every single day, that would totally hinder my performance in the gym, and that would make me more upset than having to eat cleaner food options.
I mean, you can make your burgers at home, bro.
I do that too.
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
what are you talking
wheels
about,
be
man?
looking
I
right
love burgers.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and whenever I do make it, I'll post it up with like the grass-fed, grass-finished beef. But sometimes you be driving past In and Out.
Yeah. They make good burgers
that'd be
too.
Hey, it's good, man. It's something like 500 calories. It's all good.
Any other questions or anything else you guys want to add to reverse dieting?
So I think you basically covered. And if you're curious, watch Joseph's Instagram. He kind of posts a little bit of like his activity. So two things like that we could mention too is you talked about reversing out of cardio. So make sure if you're a competitor, and I'll say like in comparison, I think you were pretty conservative, I want to say, just because I've heard of people going into peak weeks like doing 2 hours a day of cardio, where you were, I think, doing like 40 minutes or so a day.
And at the end of the day, it's all calories in versus calories out. So I think also I didn't have to do as much cardio because my calories were very low.
Okay, so
It was kind of the trade-off.
it's going to depend on how aggressive you were going into your cut. And the second thing is if you have a coach or you had a coach like going into your calorie deficit, going into your cut, ideally your coach would reverse diet you out, but if not, then you have to take that responsibility into your hands.
Yeah. I'm actually really glad you said that. If you have a coach, part of your plan should be the reverse diet. Actually, that's part of prep. I mean, you want to get back into recovery mode. Recovery mode, that reverse diet should be part of your program. That should be part of your, if you pay, that should be part of your package. So make sure if you guys are hunting for a coach, ask them like, oh, does this include my reverse diet as well?
Yeah, one more thing too. Like, if you guys want to, there's also the option of being more aggressive with your cardio than your food. Like, for example, me, when I'm trying to lose weight, I just raise my activity and I start dropping weight. And then when I don't want to drop weight anymore, I just lower it and I keep my food the same. And so that's another route. It's kind of like a reversed cardio.
Yeah, that's really smart too, because I mean, if you don't want to adjust your food and you're happy with if you're satiated and you're comfortable and you don't want to drop down lower, or you don't feel like eating much more is going to make you any happier, then you can manipulate your movement, because I mean, moving is so much good or really good for you too.
Yeah, I just felt better keeping the cardio in. So I'll most likely will keep the cardio in even going into my bulk. Like, I don't really plan on cutting that out. I just feel so much better.
Yeah, cardio is not bad, y'all. It's good for your cardiovascular health.
I know. It took me so many years to kind of start doing
and do
that.
what you like. I mean, if you were doing stair climber because that burned the most calories, then like switch it to something like like cycling or walking, like, something different that's going to have the same like calorie deficit, or like it's going to put you in a similar calorie drop. But I mean, do what you like.
Word. So this leads into our second portion of this episode, which is bulking. And so it's kind of depend on the person, what your goal is. For most people, your reverse diet would just go into your calorie maintenance, where other people, your reverse diet will lead into your bulking calories. And so bulking calories is obviously being in a caloric surplus. You are over your maintenance calories, meaning that you are potentially going to be putting a little bit more body fat on, but that can also promote muscle growth as well. And so the bulk, there's so many ways to kind of go about this, because you do have to be a little bit careful, because you don't want to go too much into a caloric surplus, to which now you're on the opposite side of the spectrum and your body fat is so high, you're kind of still getting those same negative effects that you had when your body fat was too low, which is like the hormonal imbalances, and now you're having too much estrogen, not enough testosterone because your hormones are getting thrown out. You're beginning to get sluggish in the gym. Your endurance is lacking, and there's a lot of health issues, obviously, that can come along with too much body fat as well. And some people will, even if you are a high level athlete, will go too much into that caloric surplus. So you do want to track how you're feeling. And if you want to go the extra mile and actually track your own body fat, that could be a good way to go too. I'm not sure if you guys want to debate the numbers, but I always try to tell people, stay below the 20% mark when it comes to body fat for men.
Yeah. So when we're talking bulking too, the same thing when we're doing like the reverse diet chat is I like that you mentioned too to throw in like the different measurement metrics like race or measuring like your waist circumference or like because the idea is when you're taking in more calories, usually the first few days or first few weeks, and like we said, some of the foods are going to be stuff that you're not as used to or maybe a little bit more processed if you're getting to eat like a little bit out more. So a lot of it's going to be subcutaneous like water retention, glucose and water that's going to be like on the surface of your skin. So, and we see this. So, like if you've ever taken an anatomy physiology class or if you're a trainer and you've done skin fold calipers with people, you know that like somebody who's got good skin fold caliper skills, tongue twister.
Say that 5 times fast.
No. If they're good at what they do, then they'll hold for a second and wait for that water like under the skin fold to like kind of flush out and then get their measurement. So adding that second like metric to measure is really good. And the entire reason you would even want to go into a bulk, I want to start with that too, is this is if you've ever gotten lean and you're not hanging on to as much lean mass as you want to. So if that happens to you, that's when you would want to go into a bulk. This is under the assumption that you are not a new lifter because new lifters can actually body recomposition a little bit easier than trained lifters. So a couple of studies compared new lifters, which is anybody who had less than 1 year of good training and good dieting and stuff. So compared to experienced lifters, I can't spell.
It's a late night.
I can't
We're
spell
all,
correct today.
We're all kind of stumbling over words.
So the trained lifters were like 3+ years experience. So a newbie lifter would be able to gain in this average range of like 20 to 30 pounds of lean muscle in their first year of lifting correctly.
Damn.
And beyond that, so what's sad for everybody here at this table, and even sadder for me because I'm female, is once you're considered a trained lifter, the average amount of muscle mass that you can gain, like lean tissue, is 3 to 5 pounds a year. And it's about half that for women. So 2 to 3 pounds for women of lean mass that you can put on. So that's the reason you would want to go into a bulk. Going into it with the understanding that you're going to be in a calorie surplus, you're still going to train accordingly. Like you're going to want to train to elicit muscle adaptation. You want growth or performance increases. And you have to be okay with a certain level of that weight that you gain is going to be adipose tissue. It's going to be fat.
Yeah.
Juicy?
You're going to be real thick with like 5 C's.
That's the best part.
Yeah. And be prepared for the bulk. Be prepared with how you're going to look. Like for me personally, I can care less if I lose my abs. It's not a big deal to me. I think I said this on the last episode too. I can really care less. And I think I care less because I kind of know the necessary steps to get them back. And I know they're not gone for good. And I also know that I'm doing it for a purpose. It's not just me bulking because I just want to bulk. I don't know what I'm doing. It's for a purpose, for a goal, is to try to put this extra muscle on. And so, as long as your bulk is planned and you actually have a length on it, like, okay, I'm going to, bulk up for, 4 or 5 months or a year, whatever it may be. And there's a timeline, then I think it makes the bulk a lot easier as well.
Do you guys want to talk about how to bulk?
Yeah. So when it comes and obviously this is based off my own personal experience. And so take this for however you guys want. And so I kind of take the same initiative still as my reverse diet. So once I hit my calorie surplus, I continue to raise my calories anywhere between 50 to the 150 calorie mark weekly. I usually stop myself around 4 to 4,300 calories a day. Because like I said, my caloric maintenance is around 3,200 calories a day. So I'll be around 1,000 calorie surplus is usually where I hover around. And that's enough for me to put body fat on, get stronger, and I can feel the weight distributing across the body, and I can actually see the weight gain get put on. You know, I kind of get into my cheeks a little bit, and
You
know,
don't look as emaciated.
I know. I think I say amazing.
Oh, I don't know. It depends on who you ask.
Yes. Oh, and
Like a
Bri-
little,
and
I like
Bri
a,
is so
I like a
nice.
lot of muscle.
Yeah, Bri is so nice. She's always like, "You look good either way." I'm like, "You have to say that.
Aw,
You have to say
she
that."
don't.
She don't look at me in
she
the eyes
likes
when
it
she
all
says
fun.
that.
Aw.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Nah. She loves me either way. Being thick is tough though.
Because your
I
pants.
just feel heavy.
Oh, I was
Like-
gonna say it's
like-
hard to find clothes.
Well, see, I've been doing this for so long. I have two different wardrobes.
Oh, no.
I have clothes for bulking when I'm, because you figure when I bulk, I walk around like 225. Sometimes I'll kind of break that to 228, but that's too heavy for my frame. Like my legs feel like bricks. If I could hover around like 221, 222 during my bulk, I think that's kind of like where I feel the most comfortable. I still feel somewhat athletic and not too crazy heavy. Because my normal weight is around 212, 215.
So, a calorie surplus, that's one of the main components. And a couple meta-analyses have shown that a slight surplus is just as anabolically effective as a large surplus. So they compared like a 10 to 20% calorie increase, or 10 to 20% of your calorie increase versus a 20 to 30% increase, and they both had equally significant anabolic improvement. So
Yeah.
you don't have to go extreme. 10% is more than enough.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I don't like going bear mode. So I've been on that bulk cut cycle before.
That yobo.
Yeah, man.
You only bulk once.
So one time I got so big. So it's funny when you're bulking. Okay, first of all, I'm not one of those people that likes to take selfies a lot or like pictures, progress pictures. So I remember one time, the last time I did a real
That's
bulk.
why you failed on 75 hard. So this is true.
Exactly.
Way to
Just-
bring
Yeah, I passed that bitch. Whatever, Annie.
I'm just kidding.
Because I was talking smack about Tim. Anyway, shots fired.
Dang.
So
Okay,
last time I
sorry.
bulked, I remember I got so big. Well, first of all, I thought I looked good. You know, I was like, man, I'm looking massive. You know, I feel good. I feel strong in the
So
gym.
massive.
I'm so massive. And so I thought I looked great. Same thing. My girlfriend at the time, I was like, she would like cheer me on, like,
Yes,
damn,
you
babe,
would.
you look so good. You look thick. I was like, yeah, you know, it's feeling myself, you know?
How'd you get in the jeans, Morgan?
Yeah. And then,
Oh, they stretch. But
no, I had a different wardrobe as well.
okay.
Bigger shirts.
Being aesthetic
I used
is
to wear large
expensive.
back then. Now I wear mediums.
It's medium.
So yeah, so I remember when I was bulking that time, I remember I was really like overdoing it because I went to the movies and I used to like sitting at the top, and I remember I was walking up and I was like breathing. I was like, fuck.
You're like, but I'm strong.
I was like, why am I breathing so hard? And it was because I just had way too much fat
Calories,
and,
yeah.
and weight on my body.
Too much energy.
So to put into perspective, I'm 5'5", and right now I'm like 151. At that time, I think it was close to like 167. So for me, that's a lot. And now 167, like muscle is half, you know, not half, but you know, a good portion of it was fat. So I take the more conservative route of 10%. So that would equate to about 200 more calories from maintenance. And when I say maintenance, again, it depends because your maintenance is always going to be fluctuating. So I go by the scale. If every once in a while, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks, I'll weigh myself. And if my weight's the same, then, you know, I'll keep the calories the same as long as my performance is going up. So I feel stronger in the gym. Sleep is good. Recovery is good. Sex drive is good. All that is good. You know?
Holla.
You know what I'm saying? So as long as those things are going up and I feel great in the gym,
You got a forehead vein and
Come
just
on,
saying
man.
all that. Testosterone just flowing.
because I'm in a surplus right now. So as long as that's going great, then I know I'm in a surplus. Just because, like I said, I don't want to go too heavy because you said how much could males gain in a year?
3 to 5 pounds if you're an experienced lifter.
Okay, so I'm experienced here, right? And I don't gain 3 to 5 pounds. So let's put that into perspective here. Okay, Mr. Olympia, the best in the world, going back for the 2P, whatever, rubs off, bro. So if you put that into perspective, 3 to 5 pounds in a year, that's grams in a day, in a month. So if you're in a surplus, which most people do, and they weigh themselves every week, they're like, man, I'm gaining a pound of muscle this week, 2 pounds of muscle this week. So you put that into perspective, you're gaining, just say one pound of muscle per week. In a month, that's 4 pounds. Multiply that by 12. I don't know. Do the math. It's like 48, right? 48 pounds?
Yes.
So, okay. So 48
I
pounds.
was adding it myself.
So
Damn, make me a minute.
so you would be gaining that's so much gains of muscle.
You can't even do that in your first year of
So that's
lifting.
not really realistic. You're just going to gain a lot of fat and water. And then you're just going to have to cut it all over again.
Yeah.
So I like to play the long game. So I know I'll be in this forever. So I'm just going to try to perform in the gym, get stronger. And I know I'm going to be gaining those grams of muscle in the long term, and just focus on that and not on the short term of just having it's good to have, a set goal, but I wouldn't, if you gain 10 pounds in like 3 months, it's not muscle. That's just where I'm going. You're probably gonna gain a little bit more fat. So that's why I like to be a little bit more conservative, instead of gaining like 167 pounds like I did last time. And then I cut back down. I was again 150. I'd rather just take it slow and, take it little by little.
Then you don't need a second wardrobe.
Yeah. You save yourself some money. You save yourself money. You save yourself food. You save yourself, those bad feelings. Look in the mirror and be like, man, let myself go, and just going to the movies, and you start breathing hard, and then you run out of stamina because I'm just gonna stop right there.
Okay.
Hashtag 2 wardrobe crew.
So I'm going to use that, and I want to mention a few of the negatives of bulking. So if you're bulking or if you're doing it like too aggressively, if you're going too hard, too fast, these are some of the negatives. So the first one is aesthetics. And obviously, if you're comfortable at a lean body, like Morgan's admiring himself, can't even see the camera. If you're comfortable like being really lean and shredded, you're going to have to get comfortable being not as lean and not as shredded. So you're going to have to accept the fact that a little bit of the weight that you gain is not going to be all pure muscle, like you said. The second is if you're increasing your calories too fast and too long, you're going to decrease your insulin sensitivity. And just so we know, like people with type 2 diabetes have poor insulin sensitivity. You don't want that. Poor insulin sensitivity increases weight gain and suppresses protein synthesis. So it promotes the ability to make adipose tissue, fat tissue, and you don't build muscle as efficiently as you could if you're a little bit more insulin sensitive. Because the reason, if you kind of understand a little bit of metabolism and biochemistry, like you have all these calories and all this surplus of calories coming in. So your body, your organs are having to shuttle an increased amount of insulin in order to get the extra broken down calories like circulated into your system in order to, make any of the functions happen. So you want insulin sensitivity. You don't want to be decreased insulin sensitivity. And the final one is your testosterone levels could drop. Initially, it won't happen, especially if you're coming from a calorie deficit and you've been dieting for a while, but I've got some good.
More.
I say testosterone and Morgan starts.
No, it wasn't testosterone.
What was it?
Just continue. Sorry, guys.
See what I have to deal with. Oh my god. What did I say? Oh, Mercury Gatorade.
Just keep going.
Okay.
My apologies, Anabel.
Jeez.
Okay. If you're in a calorie surplus, your testosterone is going to drop.
I'm sweaty.
I have to cut that out.
No, good. No, we're keeping it. We're keeping that.
Okay. That's it for me.
When you re-listen, when you listen to the podcast, you understand what word triggered the laughter.
Did I say something inappropriate?
No, you
No,
didn't.
no,
You
no,
didn't.
no,
It's
no.
just us.
It's just-
we're just inappropriate.
We're both in caloric surpluses now, and so our testosterone is higher. And yeah. You understand when you're
Oh my
older.
gosh. When I'm older. Okay, I'm the oldest.
I wanted to add something too, because you want to make sure when you're bulking. A lot of people when they bulk, they just stop tracking because they're sick and tired of tracking when they're cutting, and that's totally understandable. But a lot of times, a lot of people might think they're bulking and they're actually not. Especially if you're a hard gainer, you have a high caloric maintenance, and so if you're not tracking, as far as you know, you could just be hitting your caloric maintenance goal. And so you want to make sure you're actually tracking, make sure you're in that bulk. And another thing is the thermic effect, a thermic effect of food. So as you start to eat more, your resting metabolic rate actually goes up because it takes more calories to burn those calories. So that's another reason why you kind of have to track your calorie intake as well. Like I said, when I'm cutting, my maintenance is around 32 to about 3,600 calories, depending if I'm doing cardio or not, obviously, and how much I'm moving throughout the day. But whenever I bulk, my maintenance calories go up. And it's because I'm bringing in more calories as well. So that's another reason why, if you are bulking, why you are kind of more urged to keep tracking.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to add?
That's it. I think the last few things will just be psych, I take it back. Okay, so with the
Psych. Got your ass. I got more.
I got more. Just because you brought up the being aware of your resting metabolic rate, the main ways that you want to track your macronutrients and your calories, you want to make sure you're hitting your protein goal, like your protein minimum, which for all intents and purposes is about 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's going to promote recovery. So the second part of the third part, whatever it is, of bulking is 1, you're in a calorie surplus. 2, you're training in order to promote muscle growth. And 3, you're recovering just as hard as you are training and eating, right? So you want to make sure that your food quality is high, your sleep is good quality, you're well hydrated, taking creatine if you are not too sure that you're hitting your protein minimum. There's not really an excuse to not be doing that, right? Because you're in a surplus, so
Yeah.
still be human.
Well, the thing with protein, that's the hardest macronutrient for everybody to hit. And so a rule of thumb for myself is I try to knock out a bulk of my protein a little bit earlier in the day. So I make sure my first 2-3 meals are mainly protein dense, and I could easily catch up at carbs and fats later in the day. But that's also because I train later in the day too. So I do purposely keep a majority of my carbs and fats around my workout. So obviously if you work out earlier in the day, have a little more carbs and fats, and then focus more protein kind of later in the day if it's easier. Hit your protein goal.
Yeah, and again, that's going to depend too on your lifestyle, how you like to eat. Because me personally, I like to eat. I like to just have all my meals kind of the same amount of protein, same amount of fats, same amount of carbs, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, so I think that'll be it for today's episode.
Hold on, man, real quick. I want to give a shout out to the people that have left us a review.
Oh, sweet.
On iTunes. I'm going to shout them out. Thank you guys to everyone. Because of you guys, we have been growing and want to continue growing. If you guys find value in what we're talking about, we entertain you, anything good, please make sure to share this and let people know to leave us a 5-star rating and a cool little review. So I want to shout these people out. First person, of course, you guys already know, it's one of my favorite people. It's Timoteo. And he left a review and it says, well, it's a long one. It says, 3 growth-minded people combine their expertise and education to bring fitness and nutrition information in an entertaining format. Their passion for bettering the body and mind is evident.
I'm actually going to change that to the PR podcast bio.
Must listen for everyone interested
We
in
still
getting
got more.
stronger,
Oh, shit. It's still going. Okay.
stronger, improving physique, and or learning ways to incorporate great meals and lifestyle habits to improve health and fitness.
Damn right, great.
Now we
music.
Thank you so much, Tim. We really appreciate you.
Now
That
we
was,
gotta make cliff notes now for his review because it's so long.
you know what, man? If you take the time to write a long and detailed review like that, that's really, that means a lot. So thank you for that. The next person is your very own Anthony Diaz. He said,
Hey.
amazing podcast. Such a good podcast. Learning so much knowledge just from listening. Thank you, Anthony. We
Man,
appreciate
a few
that.
words, but we appreciate that.
And then B, Laura T.
That's Brie.
Bree.
Her
Wow.
middle name's Laura.
You want to read this one, Joseph? Since
Oh, man. I probably wrote this. I'm just kidding. My favorite part of this podcast is how well Anabel, Joseph, and Morgan interact with each other. Their fitness nutrition advice is top notch. They seem genuine, and the comedy thrown in makes listening easy and enjoyable. I love tuning in every Monday for the new episodes. Awesome way to start my week. And Joseph is the best looking man in the world. I might have added that last part.
yeah, so thank you guys for
Thank
those
you.
review. Please, like I said, if you guys find any value at all, please leave us a 5-star rating and a review. It really helps us a lot to kind of push this podcast a little bit further.
Yeah, because we make no money off of this.
Absolutely nothing. Like right now, I'd rather be sleeping, but
Then hanging out with us.
we got to push this content out and help the people.
We make nothing off of this.
We're trying to help
this
these
is
people.
Yeah, this is literally for the people. We
Yeah.
get nothing out of this. Yeah, so please,
I'm gonna do some quick takeaways from what we just covered, and then if that's not too much to ask,
Rude.
I don't know.
we weren't done.
I'm sorry. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours? Go for it, Annie.
Go ahead, Annie. You are the oldest, so go ahead.
We got so much
Respect
sass at
your
this
elders.
table. That's true. I can't even do it. Okay, so 1, maintain a slight calorie surplus. We said about 10% of what your maintenance is. Don't allow your body fat to get too high, your body fat percentage, so monitor that. Emphasize good resistance training in the gym, so make sure you focus on compound lifts. Don't neglect your cardio. And then make sure you're recovering, and by recovering we mean use quality foods for your diet, make sure you're sleeping hard, and you're taking supplements if you need to optimize your recovery. Stay realistic, be patient, just like a diet would be.
And lift heavy.
Always.
Always. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys continue to follow us. And if you don't follow us yet, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram. The podcast is pr.podcast. My podcast is fit_fluential. To follow Anabel, you're going to follow evolve.anabel. And to follow Morgan,
It's Morgan
Aquino.
Aquino.
I practiced his last name this entire drive over
Like
here.
in the
I'm
mirror.
Aquino. Aquino, damn it. No, Aquino. But yeah, just like Morgan said, please continue to give us 5-star review ratings and an awesome review. Continue to share the post on Instagram and all other social media platforms. We appreciate it all. Like I said, the more shares we get, the more listeners we get. It'll make all this worth it. That time we're putting in. So please continue to tell your friends, family, and all your followers. And we'll see you next week.